Hello, welcome back to Technically's Developers Conference happening during Philly Tech Week 2020, all virtual this year. I am Technically Managing Editor Julie Zeglin. I'm your MC for the day, so I'm moving you between sessions. Thank you again to Dante and Jason for that awesome conversation on video game development and the gaming industry. So we're moving into our case studies now. We are going to hear first from a bunch of people from URBN. So this session is called From Innovation to Production, an URBN Hackathon case study. Engineers at URBN will discuss how their IT and digital teams collaborate in an internal annual hackathon and how these ideas are incorporated into the URBN brand. So your speakers are going to be Rob Freeman, the Executive Director of Engineering, and URBN team members Matt Brophy, an architect, Chris Hunter, Director of Engineering for Front-End and Mobile Engineering, Eric Hertz, a senior engineer, and Ray Vigniso, an architect. So first up, we're going to have Rob speak. Rob, can you join us on the live screen?
Hi,
hello,
good morning.
welcome. All right, I'll leave you to it. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much, Julie. Good morning, everyone. We are really thrilled to be here as part of Philly Tech Week 2020. As Julie said, my name is Rob Freeman. I'm the Executive Director of Engineering here at URBN. Today, I'm joined by several members of our engineering teams, as Julie just introduced. But once again, I want to thank them for putting their time in for today as well. Chris Hunter, Director of UI Architecture, Eric Kurtz, Senior Engineer on our Platform Services team, Ray Mignecco, Architect for Mobile, and Matt Brophy, Architect for Web. We're going to talk today about how creativity and innovation in engineering teams can lead to exploring solutions and customer experiences that drive business value. For us, that means exploring them in a lot of ways. Today, we're going to talk about some projects that have made their way from hackathons to production, and each took a different course, different amounts of time and effort to get there. But first, I'm going to talk a little bit about URBN. I'm going to just go full screen on this. URBN Outfitters was founded here in Philadelphia 50 years ago this year. Our global headquarters is located at the Navy Yard. This is a photo of Dick Hayne, our founder of the company. He's located here in one of our stores in the 70s, it looks like. URBN is a global specialty retailer. We have over 600 stores worldwide, along with our 24/7 global e-commerce business. Our brands include URBN Outfitters, Anthropology, Terrain, Beholden, and Free People, and most recently joined by a new clothing rental company, Nuuly. We also have offerings in the restaurant space, Terrain Cafe, Terrain Events, Pizzeria Vetri, Amis, Bar Amis, and for those of you who have been down to our cafe at the Navy Yard, Shop 543. Our overall IT organization is responsible for developing and maintaining systems that span the gamut of enterprise systems, from ERP, warehouse management, data warehouses, corporate systems, security, and order management systems, all the way through to our customer-facing e-com systems. For the most part, today's talk is going to center on the e-com space. And here's a view of some of the technologies that we use to build great customer experiences and help our customers discover and purchase products. But that same level of creativity and innovation really infects our entire IT organization. Our company really has creativity at its core. As you can see, here's just a couple of pictures of some of our stores. Hopefully many of you have been there. This, I think, is a couple of our Free People stores. As you can see, it's really just part of our DNA. And we look for ways to let that creativity flow through to our engineering teams, ways for us to explore and innovate. And there's really no one way to nurture creativity in teams. I actually just came across a statement in a book I'm reading by Jaron Lanier. We need to think about people in more creative ways if we want them to be creative. We need to foster joy, intellectual challenge, individuality, curiosity, and other qualities that don't fit into a tidy chart. So we've been doing hackathons at URBN for several years now, and I like to think that hackathons open the door to possibilities. Like most teams, we have roadmaps, we have annual plans, we have products that we have evolved and we continue to build. But when you can take a step out and ask people to look at things another way, exciting things can happen. Hackathons let you rethink what's possible. You might explore ideas in a hackathon that you never thought you could really tackle. You can explore new ideas, new technologies, new tools, new collaborators. You can get people excited. People who may be working on a given Scrum team, for instance, get a chance for a new role on a hackathon team, and that can get them thinking about how they want to work. There's a lot of good that comes from a hackathon beyond the end result projects. For us, though, we've infected a bit of healthy and friendly competition into our hackathons. The winner of each hackathon gets their team name and project and the members of the team engraved on our home-built trophy, and that project gets the green light to go to production. So for us, a quick review of how we've done hackathons at Urban. Pretty similar formula, I'm sure, to others. First, there's the pitch. People present their ideas to their peers on a Tuesday afternoon. They have to be compelling since they're trying to recruit people to work on their projects. This gives you a peek into some of our spaces at the Navy Yard. Then people sign up for projects. And then they hack. They develop Wednesday and Thursday. They spend those days working through their ideas, sometimes pivoting on their ideas. And then on Friday, the presentations begin. We'll get somewhere around 15 projects in each hackathon, typically, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. And then we actually have 2 rounds of judging. Out of the first round, the top 6 or 7 projects are then presented to our global senior executive team that includes our brand presidents, our COO, our CFO, and our CEO, which is really a high point for all of them. They really are into all of these, our hackathon ideas. Throughout the presentations, we also have different award categories, including fan favorite, best work across teams, and so on. And they present their ideas, and then from there, they're judged, and we pick a winner. Here's a quick view of a couple of our recent winning teams. So after a project wins, and it's going to get the green light to production, actually what I should have noted as well is we ask the teams in their presentations to give an estimate of what they think it will take to get that project to production. And some of the things that we think about when we think about production ready, considering our millions of customers, our global capacity and performance needs, we need people to think about how well can we monitor it? What does healthy and unhealthy look like for a new application? How well can we instrument it? How does it fit into our management and deployment tooling? How should we test it? Can we automate it? Are there costs? Are there short-term costs, long-term costs, licensing? So we consider all of those as we try to take one of those ideas that came from Hackathon and move them on the road to production. So today we're going to talk about 3 projects that made their way, are currently live. Eric is going to talk about Urban Search. Ray is going to talk about UO Spin, and Matt Brophy is going to talk about our adoption of PWA in our iteration that we call SlipStream. So with that, let me hand things over to Eric, who will talk about Urban Search.
Hello, my name is Eric Kurtz. I'm the tech lead for our internal search team here at Urban. I'm going to give you a brief of how our project went from a hackathon POC to our current product in production. Urban Search was unique in that we had a lot of new features we wanted to pitch for our search product, but we also had to replace a vendor at the time. Next slide. Next slide, Rob. All right, so to pitch our product, we had to identify some key issues we had with our vendor. Number one, we were unhappy with the performance that our vendor was giving us. So we researched and pitched a tech stack and infrastructure that we were confident we could outperform the vendor with. We are also not so happy with the lack of customization coming from, I guess, any third party at that point, and the amount of support. So it was a pretty easy pitch to say that if we built this thing from the ground up, we had internal knowledge that we could actually support and customize a lot better than our vendor could. Next slide. All right, starting small. So we had a lot of new features again that we wanted to pitch, but we wanted to scale it down because we want to have something to actually showcase at the end. And what we had a search engine that was hooked up to our web clients, and you could actually perform searches and basic browse and basic functionality you expect from a search engine in-house. What we ended up doing was all those features that we had that we were excited about. We just added them as part of the pitch as our future plans. Next, good. So what's next? You have a POC, and we won, and we were granted a new team, and we could start fresh. So what we did was scrapped everything. This is a POC from a hackathon. It was never intended for production purposes. Throw it away and just chalk it up as a learning experience. So getting to prod. Again, we're starting fresh now. There's no POC. We took a step back, and we wanted to get this thing ready for production. We re-architected everything to a spot where we thought we would be confident going into prod. Yeah, so actually next slide. So now we have architecture and infrastructure in our minds that we wanted to move forward with. The next thing we did was we wanted to rethink our tech stack. The tech stack that we thought of in the beginning as a POC, it was probably good and relevant, but now we have a little bit more details on what we are looking as far as production goes. So we revisited everything, and we ended up going with Go microservices for the most part, some Python microservices, and most of the elements of an Elk stack, notably Elasticsearch, which powers our search engine. Next. All right. So everything's planned out. Now you have to have a rollout plan. You have to have a good A/B testing plan. Urban Search used a third party called SiteSpect that enabled us to roll out slowly and gradually and increase traffic. We utilized the A/B test to compare our customer behavior and sales against the vendor. We also utilized our A/B test and rollout as a way to measure application performance with production level traffic and real production traffic. We also utilize a lot of feature flags in our code to turn off and turn on different features as we develop them and tested them. One thing that we did, is you can kind of see in the slide there, we didn't automatically go out at 100%. We started low, at, say 20%, and then once we analyzed those results, and we gradually increased that percentage of production traffic. Next slide. All right. Another big thing we had was a custom built routing. I mentioned earlier that we had some issues with our vendor as far as performance goes, and one of those issues was that they actually failed a decent amount of requests. And when they failed, well, our customers didn't get search results or browse results, and we could probably lose some sales. So what we did was, at request time, not only were we split a certain percentage of traffic, but had our vendor actually failed, we automatically routed those at request time to go to our custom search engine and successfully serve up results. I do want to note that during our peak traffic time, during one of our holidays, the vendor completely failed for several hours actually, and we picked up where they left off, and our users didn't know. We probably saved the company a lot of money. So next slide. Yep. So the last step is, we're happy with the application performance. We're happy with our conversion performance from our customers. And we used the A/B testing and routing and everything we already had in place. And we just turned the traffic over to 100%. And we successfully served up and built our own custom search engine and replaced our vendor. And now in this current day, we're happily developing all those fancy features that we pitched during our original hackathon idea. So. And now I'm going to hand this off to Ray from Mobile to talk about his project, UOSpin.
Hey, thank you, Eric.
No problem.
All right, yeah, my name is Ray, and talk to you about the UOSpin Hackathon project my team worked on. Music is a really important and distinct aspect of the Urban Outfitters brand. As Rob kind of highlighted, our stores have a really cool culture, and many of the UO stores have this great large display of vinyl records for sale. That's sort of unusual in brick and mortar because vinyl is so heavy and hard to move around and expensive. Of course, if you're on our websites, we have a much larger selection of music products as well. So despite all this, we sort of felt that there was a lot of limitations for how customers could interact with these products. If you're in a store, there was no real way to sample the tracks for a vinyl you were interested in. If you wanted product details, you'd have to, sort of open up the app or go online to look at artwork and reviews and things like that. Next slide, please. So UOSpin was about recognizing an opportunity to leverage emerging tech to enhance music experience for Urban Outfitters mobile app and retail customers. So there was sort of two main experiences we wanted to develop with this project. One was to offer track playback for our vinyl products using the Apple Music API. As of now, I think Apple Music is over 70 million subscribers, so a lot of people have it. There also recently was a API opened up for iOS clients and a JavaScript SDK for the web. The second experience was we wanted to develop a immersive in-store experience using augmented reality. There's been some amazing advancements with AR on mobile applications over the past few years. And what we wanted to do is allow customers to use that experience to get access to some of those product details that they wouldn't normally have in the store. So the team was 2 developers working for 2.5 days. And if that sounds like a lot, we had some prior experience developing our own music players and also working with augmented reality models for the Anthropology app, because we allow you to look at furniture products in the AR view before you buy them. Next slide, please. So the first experience is what we call the in-app jukebox, and this GIF here is kind of showing you that experience in our iOS app. Basically, for a vinyl product, in this case, it's a Tame Impala record. If you can find, the tracks for it, we'll give you a touch point to open up the music player and go ahead and listen to them right in the app without ever leaving it. So if you're an Apple Music subscriber, this just works. If you don't subscribe, we give you a chance to sign up and get access to those previews without leaving the app. So this is great for Urban because we don't have to worry about licensing fees or any other subscriptions required, because that is often a hurdle for getting access to the IP. And it also makes us an affiliate partner with Apple Music since we're driving signups. So the second experience, a little bit more experimental and conceptual, but what we wanted to do was give you the ability to scan a vinyl piece in the store. So the GIF is showing the Michael Jackson Thriller record and kind of a projected AR image above it. So you could tap that projected image through the app, and that will link you to the product page where you can get more of those product details, reviews, track listing, and it'll also link you to the track previews as well. So the experiences are complementary. So did we get this stuff production ready? The in-app jukebox that I showed you is available in today's current Urban Outfitters iPhone app. We did some work with our brand partners and user experience teams to refine the feature and the experience, and we were able to get our code production ready in about 1 sprint, which is 2 weeks of development time. The great thing is, we could leverage that code into our other brands as well if they want to add music playback experience to, say, Free People or Anthropology. The AR experience is a little bit more conceptual. We're still working out what the brands, want to do with that experience to refine that a little bit more. So that's UOSpin. I want to hand it over to Matt Brophy, who's going to talk about the SlipStream product. Thanks.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm here to talk about our SlipStream product. My name is Matt Brophy. I am the web architect at Urban Outfitters. And SlipStream for us is a next generation web UI. So really what got this this project started was a notice that, as we were emerging into more global markets, we really started to see that performance became a critical aspect of our front-end web application. We were getting more traffic on slower and older devices and slower network connections. So we had this sort of small idea that we wanted to find a way to incrementally migrate to a new UI. And in doing so, we could replace some of our aging technology with modern frameworks and tools. We could move from some of our homegrown frameworks and internal tools to more standardized and open source solutions. And finally, we really wanted to focus on performance. And we could, if we started ground up with a new UI, we could take this performance first development approach and really learn from a lot of our past experiences with our front end UI at the time. So going into a hackathon, we knew that there were two important things. You have to win the hackathon, and in this case, to get to production. And to do that, you need to build a product that's demoable, and then you really need to sell it to the judges. So for us, that product was, what's the minimum critical set of features we can build to make a compelling case, and then how can we sell it? And we really focused on what's that feature sweet spot, we called it. So if you build one page, for example, and that page has a ton of features, that might not be as compelling as if you built a number of pages. But if you build 10 of one feature each, it's the same problem. So for us, we really settled on building that critical customer flow of homepage, category, and product page with just a small number of critical features. And then second, we really needed to sell performance. Our going into this, the goal was to make this experience better for some of our global markets, and performance was really key there. So if you take a look here, this is a production product page. So to just show you sort of what we chose to focus on, there's a lot going on this page, but what we've highlighted in red here is everything we stripped out. So this was everything non-critical to the user. And we really wanted to hone in on what does a user do from this page? What's their primary objective? So on the next slide, you'll see this is a screenshot from our Hackathon product, and it really is trimmed down to, the most critical feature on this page. It's nothing fancy. It doesn't necessarily look great, but it conveys enough of that experience to get some traction for that idea. So once you're done with the hackathon, the next step is how do we get this to production? You've spent 2 or 3 days, and obviously you're not going to get to production quite that quick. And really, what happens here is that hackathons thrive on enthusiasm and productivity. And for that reason, they often skip a lot of the complexities involved with getting something like this to production, because complexity isn't always fun, or it isn't always fast. So it's really important, what we found, to understand what these complexities are and how some of them are hidden, so you don't underestimate how long it might take to put something like this in production. So we kind of identified 3 areas of these complexities. The first one would be non-user facing, and this is things that the judges may not see when they see the hackathon product. When you're building at the hackathon, you think about how do we build and run the app, and that's really your primary concern. But in going to production, there's a whole load of things you have to think about. You need to know, how do we build different versions for production? How do we deploy it? How do we test it? How do we test our code quality, document the app, make sure that we can put features out one by one? How do we internationalize the app for our global markets? Monitor and analyze to know if things are going wrong, and ensure that it remains performant over time. It's easy to build an app fast at the beginning, but it's really hard to keep an app fast. The next section is more user-facing complexity. So in the hackathon, you might hear things like, well, it just has to be good enough for a demo, or you can skip that feature or that edge case, or we're just going to do Chrome, forget about everything else. But in going to production, you have design specs that you need to meet, and you have to implement all those features you skipped in the first case and all those edge cases. And beyond that, you have to handle all the devices, browsers, and viewports that your users are going to be on. And then finally, there's a category of operational complexity. So you have to manage incremental releases. In our case, we went route by route. So we needed to be able to deploy them and monitor them, as well as run 2 apps in parallel. We had some pages serving from our new app and some pages serving from the old, and that brings about some complexities of its own. And then finally, if you've chosen a new tech stack, I know Eric talked a little bit about this in the Urban Searches, you're going to have a learning curve. And so team members are going to need some time to get comfortable with the new technologies. So in the end, this is just a sort of an overview of our timeline to production. We did manage to get our first MVP out to production 3 months after we started the work. We did about a month of architecture and 2 months of feature work. And beyond that, we then did all of the rest of the features beyond that MVP, and then followed up route by route with a combination of MVPs that got tested, and then full global launches of category, homepage, and cart. And then just to speak a little bit to the scale of what a production version of this is, we had 250 commits in our hackathon over a couple of days, and we have now over 4,000 merged PRs in our final production product. So I think that speaks a little bit just to the complexity involved, and these things are really important to be aware of when planning and timelining these sorts of projects to production. So with that, I'm going to hand this off to Chris Hunter, who's going to, I think, take some questions and sort of recap some of the hackathons from his point of view.
Hi, my name is Chris Hunter. I want to thank Matt and the whole team for presenting those 3 projects. Those were really exciting projects to watch go through this process. And I was actually lucky enough to be on 2 of those teams, and they were really fun. So I just wanted to, like, as I was the original organizer of the first hackathon, really the sole organizer of that one. And then, as we had some success, we took feedback and we did surveys on each one and tried to see how we could improve things. And, we grew the organizing committee as well. So that's, I'll go over that a little bit as well. But so basically, like, one of the biggest things that we learned early on was to really focus on the inclusivity of it. And so I think it really, it kind of grew out of our dev teams originally and something that they wanted to do. So people who weren't directly involved in coding oftentimes, either felt like they were it was implied that they wouldn't be involved, which just wasn't the case. But, it was kind of like, hey, do you want to do this? Show up. But so we after the first one, we got some feedback about that. And so we really pushed to, make it known that, like, hey, you don't have to be a coder. You don't have to, work directly with the, direct teams even. Like, you could be somebody who's on the retail side. You could be somebody who's, very much like in a more of an administrative role or something. So that was huge. And even like during the meeting or the event, we really focus on having like a positive atmosphere, very supportive environment. Although, Rob alluded to, it is somewhat competitive to win. There are all those other categories of, you could win sort of like, fan favorite or, different, best use of new technology. Like, there were a bunch of different categories you could win to make it feel like, you got something. The teams are all self-selecting. So basically, like, people aren't coming with like pre-baked, teams of ringers, and things like that. So after the pitches, they go up on the board and, anyone can join any team. And basically, it makes it so that, if you have a really great idea, and like 20 people sign up for that idea, we've had that happen maybe once or twice, we'll have 2 teams build the same thing. And they'll kind of self-organize around that. Another big thing is keeping things organized. So, scheduling is a big thing. You want to make sure that you're also, making it known that, like, if you're gonna be part of this, it's not just a couple of days to, basically do nothing. Like, there are expectations the companies, investing into this event, that you are there, that you're present, that you're being part of it. We also, time the pitches, we time the presentations, everything is like, sort of scheduled out, and there's more to that than you'd think. So, like, I think it helps to have a small committee of people that are organizing this. It's really a lot to organize something like, unless your team's very small. But for a larger org like Urban, where you have maybe 40 or 50 people involved in this, having one person do everything is a lot, because there's obviously, like any event, you need food, you're getting T-shirts, you're getting, all kinds of things to keep the thing running. I recommend providing food and refreshments, because people will show up, they want their coffee, then they'll get started right away. It's a motivator. People get there early, so they don't have to, go get their food at lunch and that kind of stuff. They can just stay focused. They have 2 days to get this done and move on. I think another big thing was encouraging people to work maybe outside of their comfort zone. So, like, if you're a web developer, maybe you work on a service, or if you're, a product person, maybe work on code if you can, things like that, or maybe do some UX design. It's a great opportunity to maybe learn about another role and maybe have more empathy for those roles and that kind of stuff. And then I see I'm getting kicked out. So, I'll just wrap it up. One last thing I just want to say is just allow for fun projects. Not everybody's going to want to win this thing, and just let people, build something. So,
yeah, no, that's great, Chris. It's a great summary on our hackathon process, and it's really critical to the success of it. So thank you, everyone. So I'll ask back to Julie or to April if they want us to take any questions from the chat. I was trying to scan. It looks like we answered a couple in line. Is there anything that you would like us to have as a wrap up?
Hello. Can you all see me?
Yes. Hi, Julie.
Awesome. Hello. Thank you guys so much. Yeah, appreciate you all joining. I think we'll have you move on from this session. We'll get to the next case study, but appreciate hearing the insight of the URBN Engineering team on your internal hackathons.
That's great. Thanks a lot, Julie.
Yeah.